Welcome back to Soul Food. Right now, we're going to take this salmon and we're going to crisp the skin. You know, sometimes when you go to a restaurant and you're sitting there and you're eating the salmon and they give it to you not your traditional way with the meat side up, but they actually give it to you with the skin side up. And that skin is so nice and crispy. Today, I want to show you how you can do that at home. The first thing that you want to do is to take your salmon and you want to pat it dry, just like so, with a paper towel. Moisture is the enemy of the crispy skin on a piece of salmon. So you want to take that moisture out of there. And then the next thing that you want to do is to take a little salt and just put right over the top of that skin. And you want to go ahead and put it inside the refrigerator and let it sit for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes. What the salt does is it actually draws out more of the moisture off of that salmon. And then you go back with your paper towel and you pat it dry again. That way now that skin is as dry as you can possibly get it, okay? Now when you're seasoning it, you don't necessarily want to put your pepper and your salt on the skin. You want to just use a little bit of salt. You don't want to use the pepper because the pepper will burn. You can add a little pepper to the flesh side when you're cooking it, but not to that skin side. So let's go ahead and get started. We've already dried this off, so now we can go ahead and season it. We're going to go ahead and use a little bit of salt, okay? And we'll flip it over, take some of that salt, and put right on the flesh side. And remember, you always want to season both sides. Why? Because you're eating both sides. So why not season both sides? And then we'll move over to our pan. And in our pan, we've already added our grapeseed oil to our pan. And as you see, it's nice and hot, okay? And you want to go ahead and take that fish. You can test it. The way to test it is just to let it touch. And if you hear that sizzle, then you're in business. Now, when you put that fish down, you want to put it down away from you. And the reason you want to put it away is so that that oil doesn't splash back on you, okay? So here we are. We're putting it down in our pan, just like so. And we're going to let that go. Normally, you want to let that go for maybe about 3 to 4 minutes. And then that's going to get real nice and crispy. Then we'll flip it over and then go right into putting it into the oven so that it can finish off. But meanwhile, to go along with this nice crispy salmon, what we're going to do now is make a watermelon salsa that has so much flavor to it. It's incredible. The first thing that we want to do is we want to take about 3 cups of our watermelon, seedless watermelon, add that to a bowl. Then we want to use about a half of a bell pepper. And we want to do a julienne cut, which is a thin slice. Okay, we're going to add those in. We're going to add some of one of my favorite ingredients, ponzu. Put that in. That's about a 1/4 cup of ponzu that we're using. Jalapeno pepper, seedless. Well, it's not seedless. We're going to take the seeds out and mince it up. So that's going to give us a little pop to it. A little bit of orange zest for the surprise flavor. And as you see, this is a very, very quick recipe. We're going to use some julienne of red onions. Okay, red onions is just going to give it that really, really nice pop that we're going to look for. Cilantro. We're going to do a couple of things. It's going to give us some nice color and some wonderful flavor. Then we're going to use some pickled ginger and the juice from that pickled ginger in this recipe. And last but not least, we're going to use a little bit of agave nectar and put that in. So we're dealing with spicy and sweet right here. And you always want to add just a little bit of salt and a little pepper, okay? And you want to give that a stir. And if you can just take a look at all of those colors and see how pretty that is, okay? And what's going to happen is because you've added that salt in there, what it's going to do is it's going to actually start to draw out the juices from every single item that's inside of this salsa. Your peppers, your onions, and especially that watermelon, okay? So now, what we'll do is take and put this to the side and take a look at our salmon and see what that looks like. And right now, it looks like we may be ready to go ahead and give that a turn over, okay? So you want to make sure that you have a metal spatula. You don't want to use a rubber spatula, something that's very, very sturdy. And you put your hand right on top like so. And come right underneath that skin and turn it over. And there you are. Nice, crispy skin, okay? Now you're gonna let it go ahead and cook on the flesh side for another 2 minutes. And once that 2 minutes is up, then what you're gonna do is go ahead and take that and put it right inside the oven for 400 degrees. And you're gonna cook that for approximately about 5 minutes until it's done. Now, once it's done, if you would bring that over for me. Once it's done, this is what you have. You're gonna have your nice crispy skin. Salmon is nice and done. Underneath is nice and done as well, and you have great caramelization, so you can actually present this salmon on either side, either the flesh side or the skin side. But because of the recipe that we're doing today, we're going to present it on the with the skin side up. Okay. Now the last thing that you want to do is take some of this wonderful salsa that we have, and you want to plate. Now, when you're plating, you don't want to put a bunch of it right on top, because then you're going to totally destroy the visual of that skin. But you want to have a little bit on there just as garnish. But what we're going to do is circle our plate around with our salsa, just like so. And look at the color that gives our plate. Beautiful, beautiful color. And that's what it's all about, because as we say, you're eating with what? Your eyes before you actually taste it. So take a look at that. Now we're going to take a little bit of our salsa and put right on top like so, and use a little bit of that juice. And then we want to go in. Sometimes you need to go in there with your hand instead of a spoon. We'll take a little bit of our bell pepper, put on top, let that little piece stand up in the air like that. A little piece of our onion, a little bit of our orange zest, just like so. And then we'll go ahead and hit it with a little bit more of our juice to go around our plate. And there we are. There you have it. That is our crispy salmon with our watermelon relish. And again, I'm Richard Ingraham. This is Soul Food. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time.